Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Gunjur Online TV viewers, welcome to our not so common episode. This is about the family or MAnneh Kunda family in Brufut trying to set the record. First, I welcome my co-presenter today, which is Dave MAnneh. Dave, welcome.
Thank you. I will watch. What's it called? People who are watching us. I understand some people actually listen to us. So good.
Yeah. Thank you very much, David. Before we start this program, which is setting the records, recently TAF made an interview with Fatu Networks about 1.5 hours. And okay. He made mention of a lot of things, the good things he's doing, and also how he acquired the lands in Brufut. And he even went on to venture into the TDA, the Tourism Development Act, and how it was changed so that he can acquire those lands legally. But before then, I want you to introduce yourself. Why this topic? And who is Dave MAnneh? And who is standing for?
All right. Fellow, Assalamu alaikum, Molbil. Okay. Then to Dave MAnneh to DF MAnneh, both of Brufut, MAnneh Kunda. MAnneh Kunda, what like MAnneh Kunda is to
you feel free to do this in English because what I normally told average Facebook users should be able to speak English. So yeah, you get more audience, you know.
That's very true. That's very true. Okay. Anyway, yes, we'll speak in English then, and that's all right. Like I was saying, I'm from Brufut, MAnneh Kunda, but MAnneh Kunda is with different sub-kabilos. So my kabilo is actually Fode Kunda or Fase Kunda. So I come from the same kabilo as late Dr. Kutubo, who passed away, and my dad banker in Atlanta. So yeah, I've lived in the UK for over 25 years now. So, but I'm always very, very I follow the developments back home. When the land issue happened, I was here. I was in the UK. I was at the university then. I think that was my final year at university, and obviously upset me a lot. Myself and Abdul Karim, my big brother Abdul Karim Sane, we tried to look into this to see what we could do from here because we were so far away from home. And then from that day, I've never stopped. I've done some research, work on these land issues, how we can resolve the problem, how we can get our land back as well. So I think I'm still on that fight today. Some people might think I'm actually it's an obsession, but I think this is an obsession which is worth it because this is it's my inheritance. Show me a man who doesn't value his landed inheritance. I'll show you a man who doesn't know the value of land. For me, it's just as simple as that. It's very, very philosophical, and obviously it's an emotional thing as well because, like I said, this is something. These lands have belonged in my family for 200 years. 10 generations or more. So I think it's a worthy fight. And then it's not only, I would like Gambians, when they look and when they read and when they hear about this land issues in Combo, let them not try to disassociate themselves from it, because I think this is a justice issue as well. So I think that's what we need to look into it. There's a human dimension here. We have a common Gambian decency to stand by each other. And sometimes you wonder if it even exists. But what I can reassure everybody is that we are ready and we are willing. We'll take this fight all the way back. I'm ready. I'm willing to get every inch of land that belongs to me and my ancestors. I want to make that categorically clear. Even if it will take the rest of my life, it will be in intergenerational war because I'll pass it on to my daughter, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. And I can tell you, you have a lot of people behind you on this, because this is not only unique to the people of Brufut. This is generally a combo issue. We've seen similar things happen years ago in Bakau. When we are kids, we used to in fact tease them, like the people of Bakau now, they don't even have anywhere to go. They are renting from outsiders. And we've
Yeah.
seen it in Sukuta recently, we've seen it in Brufut, and now they're heading to Gunjur. And if combo
Yes.
finish, they're going to switch to other part of the world. So
That's
this
right.
is a fight which is a national, is a worthy fight, and that's why we
Mhm.
create this platform, so we can come,
Mhm.
anytime we see something or hear something that need to be countered to put the record straight, we're going to create these kind of platforms. So
Yeah.
to the viewers, if you have any thing to ask me or Dave, we'll provide a number here, plus 220 9433419. Is here on the screen. You can call at the end of this program. It's supposed to be a 1 hour program, and we will try to stick to that. But if we can't, we might extend it a little bit, because our next program is about 2 hours away. So just to give you a brief rundown of the issues Dave will talk about, and the format we will decide, we will go about this program, is he will give you a background on TDA, that is Tourism Development Area, and the list with Jawara regime, the
Mhm.
case of the Scandinavian Yachtsman, and
Mhm.
the two understanding of the line of demarcation, the coastal combo road versus the amount of meters from the high water mark. This is
Mhm.
where is the TDA, where does it
Yeah.
stop, where does it end. Ben
Yeah.
Dave will talk on that. And the case of bad fate, Jamme era illegal demarcation of these places, and the forceful inclusion of Kajabang farms into the TDA. These
Mhm.
Kajabang are Brufut farms, which is also included in the TDA during the Yaya Jammeh's maladministrations. And the reaction of the customary landowners, also the opposition by the customary landowners will be discussed, and the
Mhm.
state's use of paramilitaries, how
Mhm.
paramilitaries have been used from Yajame era to intimidate the locals.
Mhm.
We will discuss that. And the blatant leveraging on hand of estate developers and their helpers, and the court case, Brufut Heights, the
Mhm.
selling of supposed TDA by the states.
Mhm.
TDA is supposed to be tourism development area, but we've
Mhm.
seen, these places have been sold to the
Yeah.
highest bidders in recent years. And also the disappearance of the original TDA agreement. There are a lot of speculation, but Dave will try to clarify this. Where is the
Mhm.
original TDA list document?
Mhm.
And the misapplication and abuse of State Lands Act. We know there is a State Land Act, but these have been abused, blatantly in many occasions. And the recent clear example of this is the Salaji. In
Mhm.
fact, that motivates us. You know what? We need to form a platform, come
Mhm.
together and speak in one voice.
Yeah.
And also the consequences, that is the tycoonization of an individual and the dispossession of communities, the using of expropriate lands as securities, and securities to secure mortgages, loans, and investments, and the in-your-face disrespect and health effect of the locals, debate of narratives and the attempts by the myth-making, the importance of encountering and deconstructing both the setting and the record sets. We have seen certain wealthy individuals who have
Mhm.
interest in land,
Mhm.
invest very heavily in these media outlets. So
Mhm.
that's why this platform come into play. We feel that
Yes.
the poor man also need a platform where they can go and vent out their
Yeah.
anger or their opinion, and to counter the narratives that people are
Mhm.
trying to build.
Yes.
And next steps, what are the challenges will be, because that is standing up to the injustice, legal
Mhm.
redress or restitutions, human rights angle, and the unfortunate inter and intragland disagreements on steps forward and work
Mhm.
around in my particular case. Yeah. For 1 hour, it looks so much, but I believe Dave can manage this. Yeah, but let's go,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, you gotta forgive me. It's just my line of work. Everything is so analytical, so I
Yeah,
always have to do things that way. So, but if you give
no,
it
it's
structure,
brilliant.
I'm a strong believer in structures. Structures are quite important. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Manjang. I think it's important for people to revisit the TDA, the history of the TDA, and it's so funny because in chaos theory we have this thing called the butterfly effect, whereby a small ripple in one part of the universe. In this case, for example, the effect was in the Amazon. It can have a ripple effect of causing storms somewhere else. So, but in our case, it's just a case of Bertin Hardin. Bertil Hardin was is a Scandinavian Yorksman. Basically, he was on his way from Senegal, northern Senegal, towards Cap Skirring in southern Senegal. So he had a
Yeah.
problem with his yacht, and that maritime mishap, made him stop in Gambia, and he saw the beaches, and then he decided, oh, maybe the war is over. So he brought about 300 Scandinavians in 1965. So yeah, so you see, just chance, just off chance. In the chaos,
Yeah.
in chaos theory, we call it the butterfly effect. So this man had no interest whatsoever in coming to Gambia. He just had an
Yeah.
accident, and through that accident, a maritime mishap, he ended up in Gambia, off the coast of Bakau. And because of that, people who owned their land for 200 years lost their land. It's also innocent, but it had effect, and we are still dealing with that effect today. You see,
Yeah.
so it basically shows you how interlinked the world is. Something might be so minor, the consequences can be so severe. So I think it's a lesson for us all. But anyway, so in 1970, obviously, when these stories came over, Jawara government obviously came to realization. I mean, our country is going to struggle economically. I mean, we don't produce anything. We don't export anything apart from groundnuts. So if we can get some tourists coming over from Scandinavia to come to the Gambia during the winters, very, very cold and bitter winters in Scandinavia, to come to get the winter sun, like we call it in the Gambia,
Yeah.
I think that would be a windfall for us. And I think it's a good thinking. And then they came and they had some looks around, and they decided maybe they should come and speak to Kombunkers, and they did. And they had an agreement, and the Kombunkers told them, okay, we lease our land to you. And it's important to stress this. The land always belongs to us. The ownership
Yeah.
of the land never been contested by Jawara. Jawara
Yeah.
treated them with respect, and he asked them, I would like to lease this land for the betterment of the country. So they gave him 51-year lease, 50-year lease or 51-year lease, you could say. Okay, that was fine. But there is a clear understanding, and like I said, initially, the First Republic, they knew that the land is for lease. It didn't belong to them. The argument never existed that the land belonged to the government or the state. That didn't exist there. So I think it's quite important. So then it was like a mile zone from the coastline, Anybody who knows how nature works, okay, 1 mile from the coastline in 1970 is not going to be one line from the coastline in 2010. It just doesn't work that way. I am not a geologist. I am not even a geographer, but you do know we have erosions. Yeah. So 800 meters last year is not going to be 800 meters today. It just doesn't work that way. Let alone 50 years. Okay. So I think we need to clarify that. I think that's very clear. But then again, in 1973, we had what we call the Bafoloto Plan. The Bafoloto Plan still came to ask if the TDA could be extended a little bit further. Again, coastal Kombunkers agreed. But the original list of the 51-year list has not changed. That still remains. Okay, that still remains. Now it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And they said again, it's gonna be 800 meters from the sea, but I'm gonna show you I'll show you some sketches later to see why 800 meters wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But our people, you have to give them credit. You might not say they went to university like I did. I'm their descendant, but they had the common sense to know and to realize 800 meters or 100 meters or 500 meters really doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any sense. But there is a line of demarcation here. This line of demarcation is the whole Combo Road, the Combo Coastal Road. And it used to be called Battle Harding in other areas. In our area, called the Combo Coastal Highway. But this is before we had this tar road. It used to be gravel road. So they said, okay, there is a natural demarcation here anyway. So you don't have to worry about how many meters from the shoreline to here. There's a demarcation here. This line, this is the road. Anything on the side of roads towards the beach will be leased to the government for TDA. Every land on the side towards the town and the villages, that's going to remain ours because we're going to farm there and we probably will expand as well. Everybody agreed. So now, the argument seems to be like, no, it's 800 meters from the sea or it's 1,000 meters from the sea. It's concrete. That's fundamental problem with that there. Because like I said, it's not always a straight line. You can see the coast. Even today, I just prepare myself for this meeting, this chat. What's it called? Google Earth. You can see it's not a straight line. So 800 meters from the sea in Brufut will not be 800 meters from the sea in Tangier. So it just wouldn't make any sense. So what we have a partition in here. We have a demarcation, which is a line. This is the Combo Coastal Road. It makes sense. It makes a perfect sense to say any land that falls on this other side can be the TDA, or the lands that fall on the other side can still remain in the ownership of the owners because they don't want to lease that. I mean, I want to stress this again. The land's ownership has never changed. It's always been ours. It was leased. Leasing your land doesn't mean you lose ownership. It just means I've given it to use for a specified time period. I think that's quite important. So, okay, so, but you see, this is where the bad faith comes. And that's what I always want to argue about this. I think it's very unfortunate. So you see people, Machiavellians in Jawara's government in those days, but was in Jammeh's time, to argue that, this is concrete. It's like, it's concretized. It's got to be this amount of meters from here. It doesn't make any sense to anybody who knows how the Atlantic Ocean is. It doesn't even make any sense. But then their arguments like, it's 800 meters. It has to be 800 meters. But our people had an agreement with you that we have a natural line of demarcation, which is the Combo Coastal Way. And that was agreed. They agreed to it. But then they turn around thinking that, these people are not educated. They don't know what they're talking about. We can just write anything here. They should accept it. All right, fine. So all these years, like I said, just to try to give you some historical overview. When these things happened, I was here. Myself and Abdi Karim, my dad banker in America, we were very incensed. But then I realized getting angry and emotional doesn't solve a lot of these problems. There is a way to resolve these problems, and that's to seek legal redress. And then by then, I didn't study law. I studied computers. I studied IT. But there is a university, it's a law faculty at my university. I went to speak to them. And then some people, they did the first initial investigation for me. And that's how I actually realized how Shelter Afrique is involved in this, and how the UN Habitat is also involved. I didn't know that because this wasn't well known even to people in the Gambia. Abdul Karim will tell you if you speak to him. We found out here in the UK. All right, just some students at the university doing some investigation. That's how we found it out. So there you go. So this argument that there is a fixed line of demarcation, that's where it is absolutely not true. But then why I keep on saying there is bad faith? I can give you the list number. This list number doesn't exist anymore. It seemed to have disappeared. For years and years, whilst I've been doing my research, trying to get myself prepared, I commissioned people in the Gambia out of my own pocket to try and see if they can find this list. Nobody could ever find this list. And there have been people who are helping me who work at the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning for 40 years or more. They've tried everything. They could never find this list. I just thought something is not right here. But then what happened? When we had the Janneh Commission, I saw on Janneh Commission, whilst I was reading it, because I went to Gambia and I bought the whole volumes of Janneh Commission, bought them to read them. Then whilst I was reading it, I realized in the Janneh Commission on page 89, they also said that they mentioned the list number, this is on page 89, by the way, list number SRP181790. And they put the notes there and the footnote. The Registrar General has not been able to find a copy of this lease. Mr. Manjang. So our government, that this was Yahya Jammeh's time and then now of your Barrow's time, they cannot find a copy of a lease. The lease they signed with my ancestors on a land that belongs to me, that I leased to them. So I don't want to point any fingers. I can just say just mere coincidence. I'm going to leave you people, the viewers, to make their own minds up. But if such a land in Brufut that has caused so much arguments and so much stress and intercommunal conflict in the Gambia, and our nation, our state, and the organs of the state, who are meant to be the gatekeepers of our peace and security, who are meant to be the guardians of important documents, can come out and tell us we cannot find this lease. I just find that incredible, really, to say the very least. That is very, 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 it's difficult to even comprehend. So now you took my land based on a lease, but you cannot find this lease. But worse than even that, you try to change the original content and agreement of that lease, and you still think you're acting legally. I think that is the ultimate bad faith. And this is where both the First and the Second Republic are culpable. And we will hold them to account. Inshallah, we'll hold them to account. We're not going to accept this. Because I'm going to digress a little bit here. I'm going to try use a lot of analogies today. So I hope the watchers, the viewers, can be patient with me. The analogy I'm going to use is this. Rich merchants, let's say they live in Banjul. Okay. They have wealth. They have landed property, like mansions or story buildings or so. When they die, those properties and the wealth, that is their inheritance. I mean, thus is what they bequeath to their children and their children after them. Kombo Mandinkas and Kombo Jolas and people who live in Kombo, like as long as mine and yours, Mr. Manjang, 200 years or more, our lands, those are our inheritance. So if a merchant from Banjul, he can bequeath his wealth, his landed material, his landed properties to his kids and his grandkids after them, and their grandkids, generations and generations after them. The law protects those properties. The law protects those inheritance. My inheritance is my land. That's what my forefather left me. Why can the state find it fit and proper to protect mine? If the Fullers, who are cow herders, let's say, their inheritance is the heads of cows, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of heads of cows, the law protects that as their inheritance. It recognizes it. Why does the state, in the same token, doesn't recognize and accept that my inheritance is my land? It needs to be protected. So do you see where double standards are coming from? And why it is important that not only Kombunkers, but Gambians, every decent human being stands up and be counted, because this is a gross injustice. This is just not land where you can farm on. This is my inheritance. It has a symbolic value. It's been in my family for 200 years, for 10 generations. So if I respect your inheritance, it's been bequeathed to you, landed property or money or gold or cows, why can't you give me the same respect on my land? Yeah. And then we can take this argument a little bit further. Like I'm saying, I'm going to keep on using analogies here. If you take my inheritance from me, that when it belonged to my parents, my forefathers, we didn't even have a nation state called the Gambia, number one. I think it's quite important for us to put this on record. These lands, they belong to people when there was not a nation state called the Gambia. Okay? But if we come at the country, the geography of what became to be known as the Gambia, recognized as the Gambia, both nationally, internationally, and we call and recognize ourselves as Gambians. It's a contiguity of the piece of land, the swath of land called the Gambia. We will accept that. It still doesn't mean that the state can wreak havoc on people's inheritance. It's grossly unfair. It's a gross injustice. And Gambians need to be very careful. And as we go through this conversation today, I'll probably provide some clues to why people who think that because this thing doesn't affect them, this land issues in Combo, specifically Brufut or Yundum, doesn't affect them, they need to be a little bit more careful. I'll go through the case law here. Our court, my family's court case with TAF, and I'll give you some of the arguments proffered by his lawyers. It will shock you. So if a lot of Gambians are aware, become fully aware of the arguments that have been used to rob them of their land, they probably will start thinking twice. Okay? So I think that's quite important. So I think it's very, very important for us to make this clear. But the TDA, the original TDA lease been lost, it's a concern, and it should be a concern. But then again, I should think so. If you, the state, and I lease my land to you, and you cannot find that original lease, I think you should answer to that. Because I think you've actually breached the lease, you've breached the contract. But we should come on that further. We should elaborate on that breaching, why I think they've breached the contract. I am not a lawyer. I'm going to make that very clear from the beginning. I am much more comfortable with computers, but just like everybody, like all of you, you all been blessed with common sense. You can look at things, you can analyze them, you can know when something is not right. So, but you have to make the decision at the end of the day. Okay? All right, Mr. Manjang, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
I struggled to hear. I couldn't hear. I didn't know if you're there or not.
Yeah, I am here. You can hear me?
I can hear you now, but I couldn't hear earlier on. Yeah.
No, I was mute. Because yeah. So you want me to read the next topic? That's the background, right? And
yeah, that's just the background of the TDA. Yeah.
Okay, so the bad faith, Jame era, illegal redemarcations. I think that will be the next, right?
Yeah. No, in 1992, apparently this 51-year lease, the original 1970, and then like I said, the Buffalo to Plat of 1973. In 1992, apparently this lease, this original TDA lease, was increased to 99 years. Again, it's difficult for us to verify this because my community are not aware. Mine definitely are not aware. And obviously, the lease is disappeared. The lease that the government registrar should be, should have for safekeeping is disappeared. So it's quite difficult for us to agree on that. But then again, so the onus is.
Dave, can I interject? If the lease should disappear, don't you think that should make the agreement null and void, because the state's supposed to be the custodian of this lease, and for some reason it disappeared? Does that mean maybe that should null and void? What do you ask for legal redress to that? Legal advice about that?
Yes, I mean, obviously they cover themselves, and then I'll come to that later anyway.
Oh, okay, go ahead then.
Yeah. But then the argument, then later the argument changed. In 1994, then we had the State Lands Act. Basically said the whole district of Combo North, Combo South, and Combo Central have been designated as state land. Okay, there is a problem with this, and I am not a lawyer, but lots of lawyers are saying that the application of the law is actually incorrect. I mean, most recent case, a prominent person who actually weighed in on this topic was Usainu Dabo. And that actually prompted me to write him a letter, which was in the press in this week, an open letter to him. He came out, before him, lots of lawyers have spoken to me about this. lots of lawyers in the Gambia, they said this State Lands Act is being misapplied, really. And it's been misapplied intentionally to rob people like you of your inheritance. I spoke to another lawyer about it. I've shown this case to lawyers because during these 17 years, like I said, I've just not been sitting around like basically folding my arms. I've been doing a lot of research. Been in talk to people like in Tanzania, in Kenya, people in South America, in Belize, and places like in the Amazon jungle. These are people who lost their land, and they had to go to the United Nations. By the way, we're gonna touch on that as well. But then, yes, speaking to these people who have experienced this, like the Maasais in Tanzania, who basically had to go to court, and obviously they got their land back. They took the Tanzanian government to court. And another case is the guys in Kenya I used to deal with earlier this year. For 100 years, they lost their lands. It was stolen from them during the British colonial days. And when Kenya gained independence from Britain, they refused to give these people their land back. For 100 years, it's only 2019 they got their land back. So we got a lot of case laws all over Africa, in some parts of Africa, in South America, like I said, in Belize, and then in the Amazon jungle. So we got lots of those. So yes, but then they're saying that it doesn't matter anyway. The TDA really doesn't matter anyway because all the lands in Combo South, Combo Center, and Combo North are all state lands anyway. So that's the argument. So that means that the TDA is the TDA list actually doesn't matter anymore. That's their argument, and we don't accept that. And like I said, a lot of the lawyers I've spoken to don't accept that either. So that is something we'll have to fight because we think that's it's not right. That is not right. It's only the state using its power to rob people of their inheritance. It's unacceptable. It is simply unacceptable. And that's just not me saying this. I'm not a lawyer, but like I said, I've spoken to lawyers, and they are very convinced that the State Lands Act is being misapplied against us. So I think we need to fight that. I think that's a worthy fight.
Yeah, thank you very much for now the forceful inclusion of Kajabang farms into the TDA. And I think you need to clarify this is not Kajabang Gunjur because we also have Kajabang. It happened to be around the beach area. So this is Kajabang of Brufut. So can you touch on this quickly?
Yeah. This I don't. Well, Kajabang is what some today they call it Brufut Gardens. I find using those names a little bit insulting. Number one, because you come to my land, it's got a name for over 200 years. You decided not you're gonna rename it. Even the symbolism in that is too insulting for me, really. So I don't use that term. But basically, it's the developments in Brufut. But then it goes back to what I was saying about
Dave, again, since you mentioned that and you seem to have issues with that, don't you think this is like a form of a cultural genocide? Whereby you go to a place just to replace people, their culture and everything, you start renaming places. And the name just catch up.
I think it's worse than that, Mr. Manjang. If you think about it, I think it's a mini version of like how colonialist colonizers and and slavery. It's like they come over, you got the place. If your place is already got a name, but they feel that the name is not befitting because they're gonna be developing the place or putting up structures. So your name is not fitting anymore. So they have to give it a new name. So that's why they call them AU Villa and then the Brufut Gardens. I don't like to use those names because it's called Kajabang. That's what I know.
Yeah.
What my father knew. That's what his father knew. For 10 generations in my family, that's what we knew. So just to come and give it another name, like you said, you can use cultural genocide, whatever you want to call it. I just feel that it's very analogous to what the colonialists did. Really, it's very very similar. Just in this case, like the people who took the land are people who look like me and you, and we seem to think that we live in the same country, so our morals and even what we look for in life should be the same, but they are diametrically opposed, as you can see. So it's very very disrespectful. But anyway, coming to this Kajabang again, why they shouldn't build on it it still goes back to this natural line of demarcation, whereby one side of the road, the Combo Coastal Road towards Brufut, is always been understood, and that's the agreement we had with Jawara government. That is ours. That is ours and ours alone, and we don't want to lease it. But then Jammeh bin Jammeh forcefully redemarcated it and said it's part of the state, it's part of the TDA. But then again, the TDA argument is actually annulled anyway because they're talking about the State Lands Act. But the implication about the State Lands Act is, I am not a lawyer, so this chart is not going to be legalistic. So people need to be very careful to understand what I'm saying is just my own analysis. I'm not a lawyer. So the lawyers, they got their way of having a debate and how they can discuss it, how they analyze it, and they reach their conclusions. Me, I am just a layman, just like you and Mr. Manjang or anybody else. All right? So this is the way I see it. But if the State Land Act, if every land in Combo South, Combo North, in Combo Central belong to the state, so that means my house, but the house my father lives in, the house your father lives in Gunjur, the house people in Sukuta live in don't belong to them, because the land that they built on don't belong to them. So it doesn't make any sense, because the argument doesn't make any sense at all. And then I'm going to elaborate on this again later, and I'm going to use the case of Taft's lawyers in court, how they apply it and their justification. It should really terrify Gambians. Really, really, they should be terrified. Okay?
Yes.
So this is yeah, sorry.
It looks like a broad daylight robbery, which takes us to the next segment of this. What have been the reaction or the opposition from the customary landowners?
All right. I mean, like I said, I was already in the UK. But when it happened, what our people realized is they had, through the grapevine, that the lands are going to be taken away and given to an estate builder. I mean, he didn't make any secret of it. He been coming to Brufut, and then he went to see the Alicalo. And then we always got there's always these unfortunate dynamics within our own communities. And I think it's quite devastating. I think people use it to their advantage. There's been little interclan issues in Brufut. It's not unique to Brufut. You'll find them in most places. I mean, it's not unique to Combo Mandinkas or Combo Jolas or Combo Manjagos. That's just human nature. We'll find it everywhere. So, but then you'll have people who will use these schisms within us to a very devastating effect. So in those days, like I said, I was in there, but then I realized there's been unfortunate conflicts between us, the MAnneh clan, and you can say the Sane clan, even though we all one family. But there was some problems. And then the Alicalo in those days, may his soul continue to rest in peace, Alkali Khalifa Sane. And by default, both our Sefos and the Alicalos, they seem to support every government who is in power. It wouldn't matter whether it's Yahya Jammeh or whether it's Barrow or whether it's President Jawara. Our people, they just have this feeling that, well, most cases anyway, I've had during my my research that there have been some chiefs who were very opposite, who were very staunch opposition, members of the opposition, but I don't think there are many of them. So if you come to my people, like let's go back to the late Alkali, may God continue to bless his soul. He felt that maybe Yahya Jammeh is in government, so it's not worth his while, the while of our people, to go against his wishes. So I was in there, but I understood in those days, staff would drive to a developer will drive to Brufut, and then you will see the Alcalo, and then people will see them in the car, they're going around. Like I said, yeah, it's very unfortunate. But if we don't come together as combunkers, and we always let people come between us and divide us, what we're going to have, the end result is going to be this: losing our lands, losing our inheritance. So it was used to a very devastating effect. So it created a lot of conflict amongst Brufut people themselves. And some people naturally felt that, they should support the government. Whether that means them losing their inheritance, they didn't matter. So, which is very unfortunate. So that's the tactics they use. So coming back to when the people, I'm gonna be very specific here. I am gonna specifically when I say my people, my community, it's only gonna be the MAnneh people, the MAnneh clan, and then later I will also break this down to when I say my community, it's only gonna mean just my little compound in MAnneh Kunda. Because like I said, MAnneh Kunda is we in Brufut, the Mannehs, we got about 5 different compounds. We all part of the big MAnneh Kunda umbrella, but we got various MAnneh Kundas. So it's very, very important for me to make this distinction. And you will come to realize that very soon as we go through this chat. Okay, so our people realize, my community realize, my Kabila realize, they're going to lose their land. So they call a meeting. They decided every man, every boy who is 18 years or over will be given a plot of land. So obviously, the older you are, the more land you have. So some of us have 20 by 20. People like my father have 40 by 40 because they were the elder. So some of my little brothers, they had less. Okay. And then some of them in the family, they started selling their land off because they had through the grapevines that they're going to lose their land. So they thought we're going to be quick and sell our land before we lose our land and lose our money, because they felt so powerless. And some of them sold their land. People like me, we never sold our land. Some people started building structures on their land, and then they came and demolished it all. So our clans stood up. They said, no, we don't want to give you our land. It belongs to us. The understanding has always been there that the line of demarcation is the coastal road. Any land on this side belongs to us. You cannot just do that now. It's illegal. And then the paramilitaries came over and brutalized them like they will normally do. They arrested some of the people, took them to the police. I understand the current Alicalo, when I went home, is my dad in our family. I went to speak to him. He told me, Lamin, he told me I was arrested. They took me to Brikama. I was put in a cell in Brikama. So another one of my uncles, he was also arrested, and he's already passed away now. So they got arrested basically just to scare them off. But still, the people refused. The youth went there, and the paramilitaries really brutalized them, seriously hit them and injured lots of them, arrested them. So they never wanted to give their land away. And there we are going that night. I mean, when the construction first started by this estate developer, people will try to sabotage it. But in the end, I mean, you got the whole state apparatus against you. There's nothing much you could do. So they came to that realization, and then they decided they're going to try to go to court. And they sought and then secured the services of 2 lawyers who incidentally happened to be lawyer Usain Dabo and another very good lawyer called Usman Jammeh from Bakau. And it's important we also emphasize this. People like Usman, why they felt that they needed to come and stand with people of Brufut, because they understood, and they understood this very, very clearly. Unlike probably most lawyers in the Gambia, they understood the danger and the risk Combo people face if they don't stand up. I think that's very, very important. And I think it's important people always leave politics to one side when it comes to Lawyer Dabo. He stood for my people. He stood on their side. He did his best in court to try and get legal redress for them. So his politics and mine are not the same. His politics and yours are in the same. But that is a record, it's a historical record, and people don't need to ever try and trivialize that. I think that's very important. So yes, my people were always against it, and they did what they could do. They went to court, and obviously the court case didn't actually complete. So the court case is still pending. So that's where we're going to take it, because I am not going to stand by. I am going to fight for my land because it's my inheritance. It had belonged to my family for 10 generations. It belonged to me before there was a nation state called the Gambia. No state in the Gambia or anywhere else has got the right to take it from me. I want to.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. Next on the list is the use of paramilitaries, which you mentioned already. But the sad part of this use of paramilitary, we thought this was heavy-handedness of Yaya Jammeh, but we've seen them recently in Sugota in this new dispensation. How can you reconcile that? We thought those are the things of the past, but recently we've seen them in Sugota.
Yes, I think this is where culture comes in. I mean, when you speak about culture and tribe in anthropology, it doesn't just mean people who speak the same language. People can speak different languages, but they can put them as the same tribe because their thinking, their mentality, and how their perspective on life is so similar. So we have this culture of brutalizing people in our security services in the Gambia. So, and there have been no meaningful effort to change it. So the security services, what I don't know if they have to bring a new law, new act, whatever they call in the Gambia. If they have, it's not very effective because we have the same personnel in the military. Only a few of them have left in the security services. It's the same people who brutalize people, who brutalize innocent Gambians, helpless Gambians. The same people are still in uniform today. So nothing much has changed. And then you can talk about TRRC. Obviously, you have a TRRC, but has anything meaningful actually come out of the TRRC yet? I know it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be a process whereby people need to be penalized. But then my question is, what is the essence? You just want to have a chat about, oh, this happened and that happened. So what do we learn from it? Are we just because, oh, we all Gambians, we can just move on? I'm not too sure. So our state apparatus, the security apparatus, the security services, they have not learned their lesson because they have not paid any price for 22 years of brutalizing our people. They have not paid the price at all. So they're going to continue. They are going to continue because this is a culture. It's very, very inbred in them. They will not stop. They just would not stop until we have a government in power back home who is willing and ready to challenge them and to actually change the whole structure of our security forces. They are not fit for purpose. Really not fit for
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the plan for this new government that is supposed to be a coalition government, is security service reforms. I don't
Mm.
think that has taken place, so that's why we still have this. And also the mandate of TRRC is to establish the facts and make recommendations. So once it's still not yet over, we probably might not see that. So the court case is next, but you also already mentioned that, so that we can go to the Brufut Heights. What do you
Mm.
want Gambians to know about Brufut Heights? We hear Brufut Heights. I don't even know what it means.
Actually, I realized I was going to do screen share, but it seems like my browser doesn't support screen share for this application. It's prompting me to use Firefox instead because I think it's got like a
Okay. Yeah,
it
but
has it has a plugin that supports screen share.
if you can email it to
Can you hear me?
that. Yeah, if you can email it to the email I gave it to you now, if that is possible, or is it too late? You can put it up.
Mm,
Yeah,
nice. Okay.
you can put it up. That will be fine. So, guys, you hear David Sober. I'm just going to give you the summary of what he was talking about. The backgrounds to
Yeah.
TDA, how TDA came about. If you are ready, just tell me, then you can take over.
Yes. Yes. You go ahead once I
TDA,
do this.
yeah, TDA just come by accident. This is an Scandinavia yachtsman who got his yacht broken down in the sea of the coast of Capscreen, and he ended up in Gambia. But once he saw our beautiful shoreline, he said, you know what? This place could be a very, very good tourism destination. We know how Scandinavia is in the winter, is terribly cold, and they probably need somewhere to come and enjoy the sunshine, and that's how tourism development area come, because they came, at the time. Our forefathers didn't sell these lands to them; they just rented to them, because the government of the Dejara government, agree that these lands belongs to people. So if we need it, we have to go to them and obtain it from them in their own terms. That means they lease it to them for 51 years. but then, Yahya Jammeh come, everything become murky, and even the lease document, in fact, got missing. Nobody know where it is. And in the interim, the condition changed from 51 to from 51 years to 99 years. Have you seen it?
No, 1 second.
Not yet. So 51 years to 99 years. And not only that, we've seen TDA being sold, to local developers, and we've seen property developers, not only for hotel purpose, but residential purpose. So these are some of the issues that is causing problems. And also, since we've seen the likes of TAPS, how they obtain it, they capitalize on the partition politics division in our communities, which is very, very common in most combo settlements. And that's how we obtain these lands on a very, very dubious circumstances. But it don't just come and walk over them like that. The community resists. But we've seen, Yahya Jammeh time, if you resist, they will bring these paramilitaries, who have specialized in brutalizing citizens. They will force you, and in some extreme circumstances, in fact, the people who actually start developing structures in their plants were all demolished, and they were forcefully taken away from them. But the court case was mounted, for the people of Brufut, Usman Jame, and lawyer that will stand for them. The matter is still at the court; it's not yet finished. So this is the fight. Dave and his siblings and also fathers are taking over. And this is a fight not only for the people of Brufut, because these same, what affect the people of Brufut affect the people of Baka, affect the people of Sukuta. And now is the people of Sanyang Gunjur, have been affected. For example, they say all lands in Combo belongs to the states, which means my father, Dave's father, and your fathers, where they build their land, actually, where their houses doesn't actually belongs to them. So that means this is the situation. Have you seen it? Not yet.
No, 1 second. It's okay. It's okay. I'll sort it out. 1 second. Minute.
Okay.
Right.
So use of paramilitaries. Yes, we've seen that. Yeah, I can hear you.
Give me 1 second.
Is that?
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah. So they've touched on the use of paramilitaries to intimidate citizens. We've seen that it's very common during Jarab Jammeh era. Either is to quell demonstrators or to go and prevail on people. And at the beginning of this administration, we've seen the devastation they cause in Faraba. So initially people do, okay, this government, they just coming. But in recent time, we've seen it, in Sukuta as well, where they went to Salaji, and start brutalizing Sukuta people and also demolishing their structures. So it's like nothing changed. This is should be a real concern for any Gambians. We thought we are in democratic dispensation where, force should not be used on citizens for government to get their way. But it's still happening. So that's why these security service reforms that was recommended by the coalition government cannot come quick enough. And they mentioned about, the effect of TRRC, but I think TRRC is more of a fact-finding institution. They are trying to establish the facts, the human rights violations that happened during Yahya Jammeh's era. And then they will make recommendation that certain people might have to go for, have to be prosecuted. Certain people maybe they can, confess to their crimes and apologize. And also the victims, if they wish, they can take the compensation option, and forgo the legal routes. So that's why we have the TRRE. Again, those recommendations can come quick enough, but the sad thing is the missing of the least documents that our forefathers, the agreement they made with the states. It's nowhere to be found.
Yeah. So maybe yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Have you emailed it already?
No, it's okay. It's fine. I can just give you the dimensions anyway. It's fine.
Okay. So the Brufut Heights. What?
Actually, if I can just make a clarification on TRC, I do understand their limits, the limits of those limits as well.
Yeah.
My objection, my concern was there are people who they've been accused of brutalizing and killing people, and they are still in the forces.
Yeah.
So that's my concern. I know some of those, yeah,
Yeah.
but
There are many people as
I do
well
appreciate,
are
yeah, I
concerned
do
about
understand, their remit, like,
it.
yeah, they fact finding, or yeah, they want to also reconcile. But personally, I would have said, I mean, if somebody is accused of those sort of human right abuses, I don't think they should be serving. But that's for somebody else to to decide anyway. So yeah, when it comes to Brufut Heights, going back to this original TDA, which said
Mm.
the argument was that it has already been superseded anyway, doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
there is a problem there. So if it's the state land anyway, it's been superseded, but it's still TDA. So
Mm.
we saw that with Yajame, and this again, I was not in the Gambia, but obviously I came to establish these facts during my own research. That Yankuba Toure in particular was very, very prominent in selling off the swath of land in what they call what's it called, Brufut Heights. And
Mm.
so this is still land. So Yajame and his ministers and anybody who's connected in the Gambia just went and got a swath of land on one of the most expensive, lucrative pieces of land you can find, real estate you can find in the Gambia. You
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
so the people who own this land, they don't have any right to this land anymore. If the
Mm.
original use of the land was TDA, but now it's changed for people to live on the land and build on there for domestic
Mm.
purposes,
Yeah.
at least
Mm.
there should be the basic human decency to
Mm.
go back to the original owners and tell them, well, this was leased on this for this, but that's not happened. So let's
Mm.
discuss it. But no, rather than that, they just decided that people like Yankubutu decided they will just go and take half of it anyway. And then you got some lawyers in the Gambia, and we'll name
Mm.
their names. And they just went and just grabbed lots and lots of pieces of land. And then you got like, so it's just very crazy. And then today, when
Mm.
you go to that TD, you go down there to Brufut Heights, somebody want to sell you 40 by 40 for like, they're talking about they don't even give you a quote for this land in dollars. They talk about in dollars.
Yeah.
They're telling you about 30 by 30 for $40,000. You're like, what?
Yeah.
This is somebody's land. This is somebody's inheritance. You just take it. Yeah. At least have the common decency to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
because they think I think it also boils down to the disregard they have of people. Because I
Mm.
think they just have this conviction that our
Mm.
people are worth nothing because they don't
Mm.
have anybody who stands for them in high places. And then I
Mm.
think in some ways they might be right because you have a lot of combo intellectuals who just didn't think it's worth their while to get involved in the social problems their people face back home. They'll be very happy, working in international appointments in the world, and they can go home, build their big houses and do stuff. But their problems, what their families and their culture. I mean, their clans, the problem the clans are facing, they just seem to not bother too much about it. I think that have been very devastating for Kombunkers. I think that's why your generation and my generation, we need to make this change. You can just be comfortable in Saudi, I'm comfortable in England, and then we just leave our people to it. That we can't do that anymore. Wherever we are, we have to stand soldier to soldier with our people because that's what other communities did. That's why they are where they are. So if you go to Brufut today, like Brufut Height, you're not gonna find a native Brufutinka there. It's no native Brufutinka who lives there, and it's their land. But they cannot even afford to. They cannot even afford to I mean, they cannot even afford to build like what's it called, a hut, Krintimbungo, But this is their land. But you got people from other parts of the country who live there, and because they network amongst themselves to rob us of our land, so they are there on our land. We cannot live on it, and we don't have any benefit from it. We're not going to accept this. It's unacceptable. So that's why I think Kombunkers, specifically Brufutinkers, they need to get their act together. Instead of fighting these inter-clan problems on some little land, take the government to court over Brufut Heights. There are lots of swaths of land in Brufut that have not been sold yet. Go to court and get it back to the community. It belongs to the community. And I'll give you an example of a Brufutinka. He doesn't want his name mentioned. This guy is a doctor in Germany. He got his own clinic in Germany. Yeah, he had land before it's called Brufut Heights, by the way, and it belonged to his grandfather. It was their farm. He wanted to build a hospital in Brufut for Brufut people and Gambians. Yeah, with his partners in Germany. During Yahya Jammeh's time, they refused. That piece of land unfortunately fell within what Yahya Jammeh said was his. So he had a brother or a cousin called Pabojam. I don't know this guy, Pabojam. So he used to look at this land. He used to look after the land. And this guy from Germany came and he sent people to them. They said, "This is our land. I actually want to build a hospital there." They said, "No, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Jammeh." So, okay. Then afterwards, what happened? They sold the land off. This guy who wanted to build a hospital on a land that belongs to him is unable to build a hospital on a land that belongs to him, and he wants to benefit the people of Brufut and the people of the Gambia, but he's unable to. But this land is being sold to people from other parts of the Gambia who built domestic houses or the man live in it. I mean, how can anybody ever justify this? So this is the state of affairs we have in places like Brufut Heights. You can have one individual who can own like 300 meters by 300 meters of land that never belonged to him. That's a land that was part of the TDA. But for some reason, it became repurposed. Then you got people like Yankuba Toure and Yahya Jammeh divided amongst their friends and families and connected people in the Gambia. It's just it's incredible.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. Omar Malmo Jr. is saying hello anyway. He's watching right now, your nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Brufut Heights, and also you went on to include the selling of supposed TDA by the states. So we might as well jump to the Misapplication and Abuse of State Land Act. Very light on this, and it is a special specialty. So we just cover the moral angle. In fact, we've already elapsed our time, but I can, we don't have any program for another 30 minutes or so. So we can still continue. You can delve on this one, the Misapplication and Abuse of the State Land Act.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we need to be a little bit careful because we're not lawyers, but we also are blessed with common sense. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's no doubt here anymore. Lawyers have said it. There's a man in the Gambia who's been very involved in all these land lawsuits in the Gambia, Usain Dabo. He made it very clear that the State Lands Act has been misapplied. It's been misapplied specifically for people of Combo and people of the Combo coastal region to rob them of their inheritance. It's a whole way of going about, even if you have to expropriate somebody's land. There is a term for it, domicile, whatever. It's a legal term for it, but still, there are processes you follow. They've not been followed. Nothing has been adhered to because they just basically thought that these people are not worth it. And it all goes back to what I'm saying now, people's having nobody helping them. They're intellectuals, feeling that, they are better off using their education or their connections to improve themselves and their immediate family and the whole community. That's why we have this problem. So we don't network. Compound cost never networked before. So that's why it's so important. Our generation doesn't carry this. This culture needs to be broken down now because it's been used to a very, very devastating effect on our people. It needs to stop. We have to stand up for our people, Mr. Manjang. We have to stand up for our people. It's very, very important. But when we come back to this land in Brufut and Yundum. So now we're going to talk about Brufut and Yundum. And maybe I can talk about the court case here anyway, and some of the justifications these estate builders lawyers made. So if we look at the injustice of this, you are an estate builder. You were a struggling businessman. If we have been, if we even been generous to you, okay? So you didn't have much. I gave you a massive swath of land. I gave you 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, for example, in Yundum. Then that land, you use as a surety and as a security to get what we call like mortgages. Okay, so you this land as security to secure mortgages to build on the land. So the people who own the land, they've not been compensated. for nothing. So you got a massive swap of land for absolutely next to nothing, and you use that land to secure investments, to secure loans, etc. So you build on that land. So overnight, you became a millionaire on something that did never belong to you. So, but the people who own the land, they absolutely have got nothing from it. So this is some of the outrageous stuff that happened in the Gambia. So we got an estate developer who basically had got no money at all, but he had connections in power during Yajambe's time. They did their machinations. They're like, okay, at cabinet level, they decided we're gonna give you swap of land in Yundum and Brufut. So he used that to go to organizations like Shelter Afrique, and where he got $5 million and has a mortgage. So he mortgaged a land that didn't belong to him. So he had 5 million from it. From that 5 million, he's able to build structures on the land. So can you see the injustice? It's a whole chain of injustice. Land didn't belong to you. You took it. You secure loans on it, to build land on it, to build structures on it, to sell off. But the owners, nothing is being given to them. They lost their land completely. So overnight, you became a millionaire. Overnight, these communities became very, very poor. It's unjust. It really is unjust. So overnight, you have a person become a tycoon, and the communities became very, very poor overnight. So, and then you got that person walking around saying that, oh, the place belongs to him, with total disregard for the people who even own it. Don't even slight respect for them, because he thinks he's better than them. If he doesn't think that they are worth even the dirt under the sole of his boots. But he is who he is today because of their inheritance. And somehow Kombonkers and Gambians and people are just happy to fold their hands and don't fight that. I cannot understand it. It's incredible. You don't have to be a Kombonka. You don't have to be a Brufut. You don't even have to be a Gambian to know that is a gross injustice. It really is a gross injustice. So whatever wealth he's going to garner now, the wealth, it's going to be inherited by his kids and their kids. And the people whose inheritance this land is having robbed. So their descendants, what would they inherit? Nothing. This is the moral question here. But then again, I'm very careful to say that just because your morality and my morality are the same, does it mean somebody else's morality is the same to ours? Yeah. So you have people in every situation who would take advantage, who will opportunities. But being an opportunity is not always a dirty word. But in this specific case, it's a dirty word. Yeah. If where the person wants to wear it as a badge of honor, that's left to him. But it's quite dirty here. Because you use an opportunity, because opportunism that you had, because you had a brutal dictator who didn't respect people's right. He didn't even respect people's right to life, let alone their right to their property. So this is what we had. So overnight, you become a tycoon in the Gambia. All the communities became poor. And you're going to give the wealth and the proceeds and the profits of that wealth, of this property, of their land to your kids and their kids after them. Robbing the whole community, massive, hundreds and hundreds of people. So you have one small family, like 5 people. He's got 5 daughters and himself and maybe 2 grandkids. So he's taking the wealth of hundreds and hundreds of people in Yundum and Brufut. How can any state justify this? It's incredible.
It's a sad situation. And what you are talking, Maud Olimboj, touch on this. If not, so if Jama can put this on the screen, it's too small, but I will try. He said, Mr. Manjang, nice conversation. It is important to set light on the land issues in the combos. It is a time bomb just waiting to explode. Dave, a well-written open letter to our politician, and I hope they take heed concerning the Combo land issue. You are right, Mr. Harding is the Swedish who was very influential in starting the tourism industry in the Gambia. Thank you very much. And also Mbasoto, right, they dehumanize us. Brufoots use their powers to forcefully seize these lands from us. So Dave, you're talking about, you went as far as the consequences, in fact, the tribalization of the individual and dispossession of the communities, using of expropriate lands as sureties,
Notice, yeah.
and sureties, yeah, to secure mortgages. You went on to that, and the in your face disrespect and disregard for the landowners, and the Brufut barrier. I think that is what you need to discuss now. Then we can go to the next step. That is the Brufut barrier,
Mm.
its environmental and health effects on the locals.
Yes,
What do you can
I
you?
think sometimes it's quite incredible when you look at the situation in Brufut. It reminds you of the Palestinians and the Israelis. Really, really,
Mhm.
it's like you got Palestinians on one side. No, no, they don't have powerful supporters, and you got the
Yeah.
Israelis on side who have the West and America and their military might. So
Mhm.
the same analogy you can use in people of Combo and Brufut. You got these powerful estate builders during the Ajam's time. He had the whole state apparatus behind him, especially the security apparatus. He had the poor, helpless people in Brufut and Yundum who couldn't do anything. They were helpless. And then their
Mhm.
moral argument just fell on deaf ears. So, but then when you come to the case of Brufut, it has environmental implications and even health implications, because those lands, our people, they might not have been going to university and school like me and you, but they were not stupid. They know how to do landscaping. So those roads, those Kajaban farms, they had roads there, pathways. They're just not only pathways for animals and people. These are also pathways for during the rainy season. The rainwater can find itself to the Atlantic Ocean. So when we had this Kajaban stolen, taken by the state and given to an estate developer, he brought up a massive fence. Yeah. So people who previously it would take them 5 minutes to walk onto the main road, the main Kombokoso to catch a bus or what's it called, a taxi to go to Banjul or wherever. Now it takes them about half an hour because he put a massive barrier. So on top of that, during the rainy season, the natural pathway for the water to go to the ocean doesn't exist anymore because it's been blocked. So behind this fence, my mom and dad live there. So if we go to the Gambia in the in the rainy season, it's horrendous. So it's like it's water. I mean, the place is waterlogged. So it's a very very big problem for them because the roads, the natural paths for the water, the animals and the people have been completely blocked because of this fence. And there's a symbolism about this fence as well. And I think we need to talk about this symbolism. It is just showing to the people that people on this side of the fence are important. That's why we are fencing them. I mean, you just cannot avoid the Gaza wall analogy. You just cannot avoid it because there's some symmetry there. You see, you on this side of the fence are not important. You on this side of the fence are important. It seems like I'm actually. It says that I'm actually protecting you from these uncivilized holes on this side. That's why I have to put a fence up. It's no other way of explaining it. Okay, so these are pathways that have been there for a very long time. You block them, so it's become very inconvenient for people. In the rainy season, it's an absolute nightmare. You see, so a journey that would take you 5 minutes walk to the main road to flag a taxi to go to Banjul or Serekunda, wherever, it will now take you half an hour. In the rainy season, it's actually worse because even with a four-wheel drive, you struggle to drive. You know, so it's really really bad. So this barrier is a psychological effect. Like I said, it's just basically showing people we are better, we are here, we are enclosed from you, dirty herds, and we are on the other side. We are in here. So it's not right. So that is something that need to also come down those walls. I mean, at least put the roads back to where they were. Don't inconvenience people and don't actually put their health at risk. Because if the water cannot flow, what happens? Like have stagnant water. The stagnant water, what does it do? It becomes a breeding ground for mosquitoes and dengue fever and all sorts of illnesses. So the effect is not only robbing people of their inheritance, of their landed wealth, it's actually impacting on their health and their convenience. It's incredible. It's not right. It's not right.
Yeah. Dave, thank you very much. One of the benefits of settling in coastal environment is the sea breeze, what we call bafonyo. This barrier also denied the good people of Brufut and also the impediment you're talking about. I personally experienced it because I never knew those walls started, and I went to somewhere Brufut, and I was trying to come to the main road. wow, I struggle. During the rains, all the roads are waterlogged, so it's a big problem. There is one question here from Basoto Mai, I think it's from Brufut. Is it possible for Kombonkas to repeal, reverse the state land law? Um, if yes, have Kombonkas initiated any steps yet?
Okay. That's my understanding. Lawyers have spoken to. It's not actually the law actually just been misapplied. The law is been deliberately misapplied. So that's the strange thing. It's just basically people give a law a different reading. It's been misapplied. I think this is what lawyer Dabo was alluding to. And other lawyers you speak to will always tell you this. The law is being misapplied, specifically to rob us of our land. So that's what it is. Obviously, people should be able to fight this. But you have these intercommunal issues, which I was going to touch on, but I don't know if we got time. So that's the problem we have. But this can be, but we're going to come to a stage whereby individuals can start these court cases and other people can join them and turn into the class suits. I think we have to go. That's some of the tactics we should use. But let nobody be under any illusion that this land issue is over. It's not over because, like I said, it's a human right issue. So if the courts in the Gambia don't settle it, we got like legal precedents at the UN. It can go further. Yeah, if we don't get justice in the Gambia, we can go to the regional court in Nigeria. If we don't get it in Nigeria, we can go to the Continental Court in Tanzania. If we don't get it there, we can go all the way to the UN because these are cases that have happened in other places. Like I said, I cited examples of the Maasai in Tanzania. I gave you an example of this another tribe in Kenya. I gave an example of these clans in Belize in South America, and even in the Amazon, some Amazonian Indians. So there are precedents, there are legal precedents we can follow.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on the list, you mentioned about the controlling the narratives, the tycoonization. Can you elaborate on the birth of narratives and the attempts to myth making? The importance of countering and deconstructing both by setting the record straight. That's why we are here.
Yes.
But can you elaborate a little bit on it?
I think this is quite important because I think especially in the past couple of months, it seems to be like blossoming of like this attempt to make this estate developer like, oh, it's a generous person who gives his money to people. But my argument is that the wealth is ill-gotten wealth. It's ill-gotten wealth. He basically had no money. So we know his bank accounts, we know what his bank balance is. If he wants, so we can put them in public record. Before he secured these lands in Yundum and Brufut, he basically had no money. Okay, so if he is gonna be honest with people, tell them basically I was a struggling builder. Okay, and then the government came to my rescue and robbed communities of their land and gave it to me. I used that land as sorties and securities. I got millions, 5 million from places Celta Afrique and other developers and other investors. And this is how I made my wealth. Then you'll be okay. But this pretension that, oh, I came from nothing, I'm a millionaire because I pulled myself by my bootstraps, it's not true. It's absolutely not true. So this narrative, this myth making, we're trying to mythologize a guy who was involved in one of the biggest criminal acts in our country. I mean, it says a lot about our people. So somebody was telling me, it's like, in Gambia, it doesn't matter how you make your wealth. You just need to be rich, and people will worship you. I think that's very, very sad. So that's why you can say previously, people will be drug dealers in this country. They'll go home with big houses and everybody will worship them. But nobody questions how did they actually get this wealth. So we've seen like a pickup in this now. It's spiking. Like all these online forums and stuff. They're going into like, I've got into partnership with this estate builder. How does a journalist, a media person go into a partnership with an estate builder? It's not for me it's not for me to say, but I'm very, very suspicious of that. I'm very, very suspicious. So what exactly are you trying to do so that people can put you in good light? Yeah, just be humble, just be honest. To tell people that I was basically a struggling builder, I had no money. Yeah, Jammeh made me rich overnight by robbing people of their landed inheritance and giving it to me, and I used it as a sortie and securities. And overnight, I became a millionaire. Tell people that. So you were able to expand into the sub-region, but there is a history behind it. There are people who made that possible. They facilitated it. It was not done willingly, but they facilitated it. That was their wealth, their inheritance. So we need to have a day of reckoning with those people instead of busying yourself trying to make a myth that, oh, like you're a generous person. You're not generous. If you are generous and you have humility and the basic decency, a bone of decency is in your body, you will be calling to those people to try to resolve their problem, to resolve the problem. But this problem will be resolved. Every inch of land that belongs to me, I can't speak for anybody else. Every inch of land that belongs to me will come back to me. That wouldn't be inherited by your kids and their kids. I can guarantee you. I'm going to put that on public record. Even if it means losing my life over it, I can guarantee you that. He will not take my inheritance from me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. I think that is very clear. Yeah, we've seen a trend developing, state developers going into these agreements with media houses. So it doesn't make sense anyway, but it's obvious what they're trying to do. So it's good. That's why we have platform like this, and if not this, we have our personal Facebook platform whereby we can come and spread in the records. So in 9 minutes, you will touch on the next step and the challenges. And number one on that is standing up to the injustice, legal redress or restitution, the human rights angle, and finally, the unfortunate intra-gland disagreement on steps forward and work around in my particular case. You touch on this last one a little bit, but you can expand on it. So standing up to the
Yes,
injustice,
like I
legal
said,
redress, and all.
I mean, I think this is an injustice. It doesn't matter whatever way anybody look at it from. Every angle, any angle you look at it, is an injustice. You cannot rob a community, hundreds of people, of their landed inheritance and give it to an individual so that he can make profit. His kids and their kids after him can benefit from it. That's a gross injustice. Yeah, that's a very, very gross injustice. So we need to stand up to that, and we need to challenge it, and we need to seek legal redress. Okay, I mean, it's nothing could stop like Brufut people rising up if they want to, but they're not doing that because we respect the laws of our land. Yeah, so it probably wouldn't come to that. But robbing the arrogance in people's faces, people who own their land, showing them that every day that you're better than them, they are not even worth the dirt under your shoes. I think it might have some consequences for you if you're not very careful. That is not a threat, by the way. It's not what's it called? That's not a hidden threat, or whatever you want to call it. That's just basic human understanding of how human beings work and behave. Anybody will tell you that. That's just basic human psychology. People can take disrespect to a certain level. It's a threshold, and they would never accept that threshold to be breached. And I think everybody need to be very careful about that in the Gambia. So if he push people so far to a certain level, they're gonna push back. And we've seen that in Sukuta. And I hope our people in the Gambia, whether they are in government or they're in opposition, need to come to the realization that we need to try and resolve this problem because it's a gross injustice. And then it's come to a stage where people are not ready to accept it anymore, really, because it's unacceptable. They shouldn't accept it anyway, number one. So the only surprised it's taking this long, really. But I want to, because I know we're running out of time, I just want to briefly touch on some of the defense when this court case, my clan, when they went to court. There are two plaintiffs. Unfortunately, they both die now. It's Kejara MAnneh and Kajali MAnneh for the Brufut MAnneh Kunda. And this Brufut lands, I call it Brufut lands because I don't like to use the name. Not all of it belongs to MAnnehs, by the way. There's another area that belongs to Sani Kunda, the Sani clan. So, but they went to court just for the MAnneh clan, these two people. And obviously, we had three defendants. The first defendant was Tough Holding Company Limited, the Secretary of State for Lands, and the Attorney General. Okay, and it's important that Gambians pay careful attention to some of the defense that's been proffered by the estate developers' lawyers. So if they've been thinking that this is just a combo issue, I think lots of people need to be very, very careful, because the arguments have huge implications for the rest of our country, really. Okay, and I will give you a few examples. It's too many there. It's blood curdling, if you think about it. But for lack of time, I shall try and give you just a few examples of some of the arguments. If you just give me 1 sec.
Okay, while Dave is trying to find that, you can call and contribute with this number, +22094333419, WhatsApp. And again, I will read this comment from Modu Olimboj. Very sad, bro, but it's true. Money is everything, no matter how one made it. And the saddest thing is when one asks questions, one is called jealous, etc. Yeah, that is a fact in our communities, unfortunately. I lost Dave, but if you want to contribute, the numbers are here. WhatsApp, you can call us. That is +22094333419. That's the number. So recently, lot of things have been happening, during Yahya Jammeh's era. So with this new dispensation, we think they will stop, or some of them, in fact, some of those injustices will be reversed. People will get redress. But we've seen this government is even more determined to go to extra mile, to make sure those injustices continue, especially the people around the Combos. Right now, the people of Combo are the ones affected. But as you know, governments everywhere, you let them an inch, they will go a mile. If they end up misappropriating all the lands in Combo, the next will be Fonyi or other part of the country. That's let us not surprise anybody. Dave, welcome back.
Yeah, but for some reason just lost connection.
Yeah, so yeah. So we have 2 minutes. In that 2 minutes, anything you want to say, you can. It's been a brilliant presentation, and personally, I learned lots. Inshallah, in a week or so time, week Monday, we will come here again talking about this land act in general. That discussion will be about this land act generally. Then, yeah, Dave, proceed, please.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we don't have a lot of time. One of the lawyers for this estate developer, his argument was that the land never belonged to the people anyway. He said that land never belonged to these people. So because they've never listed, and they've never listed the land. So the implication for that is like, if you're a customary land owner, so you've not registered your land, you've not listed, so it doesn't belong to you. So what's the implication for that for the whole of the country then? I know right now it's in Combo, but it's not always going to stay in Combo. So what happens if they extend this to the rest of the country? So you might be in Jara or Kiang today. You might be thinking this doesn't, it doesn't affect me. But what about we don't do anything about this, that they keep on expanding this, and then all of a sudden you always think that this land belongs to me, it's my farm, I inherited it from my grandfather, and then somebody tells you, no, this land actually never belonged to you. It's just unbelievable. So those are some of the implications I think our people need to be very, very careful about. Okay, and then like when it comes to I'll tell you here. It's here now. Yeah, it's a defendant. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. His the argument was like that. The cabinet, yeah, Jammeh's cabinet, basically gifted this land to this guy, Yundum and Brufut. Basically, granted him a lease to use it. Because he's gifted, he's not paid anything for it. It's just as simple as that. So he said the land situated in Brufut was leased to the first defendant, and then they give a registration number. They say it's just horrendous. You just can't make this up. Really, if you read this, if I go through that, I just couldn't believe. I'm like, what is happening here? It really doesn't make any sense. Really, it's just really bad. So they said that, okay, I've got it now. I said, at all times they have been aware they had no right or title to the land. Yeah, they had no right to title to this land. The land don't belong to them. They explained this to the local members of the community, the consequences of the State Land Act. This land doesn't belong to them. It has never belonged to them. So I honestly do not know what to say about that. What are the implications for that? Really?
Yeah, so I think that buttress your point you raised during the introduction, that it is Combo today, but tomorrow it might be Fonyi, and who knows, URR next. So thank you very much, Dave, for this brilliant presentation. We appreciate your time, and our program will continue on Monday. That is the Salaji, the turning point for Combo. But this time we want, going back to the history, because most of these issues affecting the people of Combo, they use the state machinery, the against us. So for us to be able to fight effectively, we need to go for those political positions. But then they will tell you, well, the people of Congo, never interested in politics, they never take part in politics. So we want to set those records straight as well. This Monday coming, we are discussing the influence of Congo on the rise of Sir Dawda Jawara himself and the PPP. So inshallah, Monday, 7 o'clock UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and also 6 p.m. Gambia time. Great. We really appreciate people who have been commenting. Basoto Mai, Modu Olimboj also is becoming a regular, and also Pa Sambu. Thank you very much. Pa Sambu, you are a lawyer, so we will need you on this platform one day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Manjang.
And
thank you for the opportunity.
Share the video for us as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to the viewers. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessed with the mighty Atlantic Ocean, fertile agricultural lands, and a strategic geographic location that gives an opportunity for a lot of people to explore and get into the business. Gunjur and the Gambia at large has experienced numerous shutdowns when it comes to economy, and especially this COVID time. Please join us as we embark on a journey where we explore different areas of our business sector, from agriculture, fisheries, and small business enterprises. Gunjur Business is in short called Gunjur Biz. This will be a platform that we will use to explore different business opportunities, especially for young people. We'll bring you on Gunjur Online all the business topics that is related to financing, operations, marketing. And we will use this platform to invite experts from different sectors of the Gambian economy and give tips and have a broader analysis of the general business sector. This will give us an opportunity to be able to discuss in a broader detail how businesses are affected when it comes to our environment, our natural resources being exploited.
Gunjur Fitness Center Body Max.
Fire for body. And if you follow me, go now, enjoyment go kill 'em. Baby girl, you bad, girl, the way you whine. I demand over you, girl. I demand over you, girl. Say you are my woman, my superwoman. I demand over you, girl. I demand over you, girl. They see the wine, I see fire for body. And if you follow me, go now, enjoyment go kill 'em.
Moro
Ibanya
mbijan do bakandro
ko ngalla janna kibaro moy kalka sola bagaso wafu
e ka fondelle ko sola enterprise fo fendi nabe dendi sola la fannala la sola la bundal ndella ko do kuwo ke mole janka sola joran kendo natala dum min nata na ko fanandiya birin gambe jam fo gambe e bantala nga bagasol samba be ton ka do ku kendo be ke mobe ninga do ko ke momondi en ka sandi kilin garantie dilale nyin kama ko la do ko lanno so waran ni tema
bagasi falle
bagaso min bijay fofe nabe dendi sola la bundala la sola la fannala a bagaso sifa be bijay lightning and pumping system ndella fanan ko ke mole min be dendi na ko ni dandan ni kordalla ka jiodi alla nin ka lampo fanan sika ka dialla wo pumping wolbe dendi gadinol ni ku kotal ni la ji ko ni la fanga bela lightning wala dimbani ku kotal danno sola enterprise tin ko la kadi
famo sola
fofe be dendi sola la haajo la janne be loro
wato tente bul bagasol tan
adum fana be ku fula la leje bunda fula fana be mbulle fan ka bonan dami anin dula ba fula safonya America ni Europe na fan ka bana wolta dum doron no moto min ka fenken do na te sola la bagasol kana te nyam banko kanja
abanta bagasol tan
ngata.
For more information, call 7171-998. 7171-998. Gunjur Fitness Center Body Max.
Hello Gambia. Your television experience is about to be transformed to the next level. Enjoy amazing features with the new DTT decoder by XCAF. Watch television in high definition and excellent sound quality. Watch Gambian channels such as GRTS, QTV, Star TV, Paradise TV and MTA with one decoder, all for free. That's not all. For a monthly subscription of $510, you get 60 international channels from your favorite football leagues, news, African movies, telenovelas, cartoons and much more. Get the decoder for $2,040, which comes with free installation, 24/7 customer and technical support all year round, and 1 month free subscription for only $510 thereafter. Get the decoder at XCAF Gambia, located at Hendon Court Building, former Dream Park, Senegambia, or through approved dealers. For more info, call 446-1060 or 446-1061. The world is at your fingertips with the XCAF DTD decoder.
have an uninterrupted electricity and water supply from solar energy in the Gambia and beyond. Worry no more, because Solar Enterprise will provide you with the solutions at reasonable cost. We have experienced personnel who can install and advise you about your electricity and water supply with a warranty period. We have good quality solar products from North America and Europe. We provide services and sell products to individuals, organizations, institutions, private offices, communities, and government. These products are solar panels, batteries, charge controllers, inverters, water pump, water heaters, freezers, submersible pumps, and general solar accessories. Visit our stores at 48 Karaba Avenue and Brufut Highway, or you can call us on 7657 479 980 8483 340 9400 or 635 9906.
Go,